The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly around the TSV Aurora as it moved through the designated neutral trade route, its polished hull catching and reflecting the light of distant stars like a mirror in the cosmos. The cargo vessel's engines hummed softly, maintaining a steady course through the well-traveled shipping lanes that connected Earth's colonies to their trading partners. Inside the bridge, Captain Jai-Ho Park maintained her usual composed demeanor as she studied the holographic displays floating before her command chair. The blue-tinted projections showed their planned route, nearby stellar bodies, and the status of their valuable cargo. She had made this journey dozens of times before, but experience had taught her that space was never truly routine. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, the soft beeping of instruments and occasional murmured communications creating a peaceful atmosphere. The Aurora might have been classified as a cargo vessel, but its bridge rivaled that of many military ships in its efficiency and technology. Lieutenant Hiram Lee sat at the sensor station, his fingers moving across the holographic controls with practiced ease. He monitored the surrounding space, watching for the usual hazards, solar flares, micrometeors, or the occasional pirate foolish enough to test the Aurora's defenses. What he saw instead made him sit up straighter. "Captain," Hiram called out, his voice sharp with sudden alertness. "Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. 3 signatures. No, correction. 4 signatures emerging." His hands moved rapidly across his console, gathering data. Energy patterns matched known Haelor Empire vessels. Captain Park's expression remained neutral, but her mind raced through the implications. The Haelor Empire rarely ventured into neutral space, preferring to remain within their own carefully controlled territory. Their presence here was unusual and concerning. The bridge crew watched as 3 massive ships materialized from FTL travel, their crystalline hulls catching the starlight and refracting it in beautiful but somehow menacing patterns. The Haelor vessels were works of art, as much as weapons of war, their organic-looking designs a stark contrast to the more utilitarian human ships. The 4th signature Hiram had detected remained in FTL, likely a backup vessel watching from a safe distance. It was a standard Haelor tactic: always keep a reserve force hidden and ready. "They're moving to surround us," Hiram reported, his voice steady despite the tension building on the bridge. "Classical containment formation." Captain Park nodded, recognizing the tactical significance. The Haelor ships had positioned themselves in a triangle around the Aurora, cutting off any easy escape routes. Their crystalline hulls gleamed with an otherworldly blue glow, power systems clearly charged and ready. "Defense status?" Park asked quietly. "All systems nominal," responded the weapons officer. "But Captain, if we power up our defense grid, it might be seen as an aggressive action." Before Park could respond, their communication system crackled to life. A deep, resonant voice filled the bridge, its tone carrying the unmistakable arrogance that had become synonymous with Haelor officials. "Human vessel, this is Commander Aethys of the Haelor Empire. Your presence here is unauthorized. Prepare to be boarded." The command was delivered without preamble or courtesy. Captain Park stood from her chair, her movement deliberate and calm. The bridge crew watched her, drawing strength from their captain's composure. She had earned their trust over years of service, and they knew she wouldn't back down from protecting her ship and crew. "This is Captain Park of the TSV Aurora," she responded, her voice clear and firm. "I must correct you, Commander. We are operating in neutral space, conducting legitimate trade operations under the provisions of the Galactic Commerce Treaty. I suggest you check your star charts." There was a pause, and Park could almost imagine the Haelor commander's expression of disdain. The Empire was known for its belief in their technological and cultural superiority over other species, particularly humans, whom they often dismissed as barely civilized. "Your understanding of territorial boundaries is flawed, Captain," Commander Aethys replied, his tone dripping with condescension. "This sector falls under Haelor protection. Your vessel will submit to inspection, or we will be forced to take more direct action." Park's eyes narrowed slightly. The Haelor were lying. This was neutral space, recognized as such by all major powers, including the Empire itself. This was something else, a deliberate provocation, or perhaps an attempt to seize the Aurora's cargo. "Commander," Park responded, allowing a note of steel to enter her voice, "I have transmitted our flight plan and cargo manifest. We are exactly where we are authorized to be. Any attempt to board this vessel without cause would constitute a direct violation of multiple treaties." The tension on the bridge grew thicker as they waited for the Haelor response. Park used the moment to catch the eye of her first officer, giving a subtle nod. The officer understood immediately, beginning to quietly prepare the crew for any possibility. "Your continued defiance is noted, Captain Park." Commander Aethys's voice had grown colder. "The Haelor Empire does not recognize human interpretations of galactic law. You have 5 minutes to power down your engines and prepare for boarding, or we will disable your vessel." Park remained standing, her mind working through options. The Aurora wasn't defenseless. Far from it. But revealing their true capabilities too soon could have consequences beyond this encounter. Yet she couldn't allow the Haelor to simply seize her ship and cargo. "Commander," she tried one final time, "I urge you to reconsider. This action will have diplomatic repercussions. We can contact both our governments, resolve this properly." The response came immediately, sharp and final. 4 minutes, Captain Park. Choose wisely." As the communication cut off, Park turned to her crew. They looked back at her with determination, ready for whatever she decided. The Aurora might have appeared to be a simple cargo vessel to the Haelor ships surrounding them, but appearances could be deceiving. The next few minutes would prove just how badly the Haelor Empire had miscalculated this encounter. Lieutenant Horam spoke up from his station, his voice low but urgent. "Captain, they're charging weapons. Energy readings are increasing across all 3 vessels." Park settled back into her command chair, her decision made. "Signal the crew to battle stations," she ordered quietly. "But keep our special capabilities powered down for now. Let's see what other mistakes our Haelor friends are going to make." The soft alert tones echoed through the ship as the Aurora's crew prepared for battle. Outside, the 3 crystalline ships continued their menacing dance around the cargo vessel, their commanders completely unaware that they had just started a confrontation that would change the balance of power in this sector of space forever. The engine room of the TSV Aurora hummed with power, its advanced systems carefully hidden behind panels that made it look like any other cargo vessel. Chief Engineer Ta-1 Kim stood at his main control station, his experienced hands moving across the holographic displays as he monitored the ship's secret heart, the experimental quantum core. The core itself was a marvel of human engineering, pulsing with a soft blue light behind layers of protective shielding. Most ships used standard fusion reactors, but the Aurora was different. The quantum core represented years of secret research, combining human creativity with advanced physics in ways the Haelor Empire had never imagined possible. Tai-1 checked another set of readings, his face illuminated by the glow of multiple screens. Around him, his engineering team worked with quiet efficiency, each member knowing their role in maintaining the fiction that they were just a simple cargo hauler. The truth was far more interesting. The Aurora was a technological breakthrough disguised as an ordinary vessel. "Era, give me a complete status report." Ta-1 called out to the ship's artificial intelligence system. Unlike basic ship computers, ARIA was a fully aware AI, another secret that gave the Aurora its edge. "All systems are operating at optimal levels," ARIA responded, her voice calm and clear. "Quantum core stability at 99.8%. Quantum shielding systems are in standby mode, ready for activation. All defensive capabilities are primed and waiting for command authorization." Tai-1 nodded, satisfied with the report. He had helped design many of these systems, working countless hours to ensure they would. As ARIA conducted her scans, Tai-1's thoughts turned to the situation above. The Haelor Empire was known for their advanced technology, particularly their crystalline ships that were considered the pinnacle of space engineering. But they had grown overconfident, relying too heavily on their traditional methods without considering new possibilities. Several decks above, security officer Sun Ma-cho sat in her quarters, surrounded by holographic displays showing classified information about Haelor technology. Her room might have looked small and simple to an outsider, but it contained some of the most advanced data analysis systems on the ship. Sun Ma scrolled through technical specifications and battle reports, her trained eyes picking out patterns and weaknesses. The Haelor's crystalline technology was impressive, but it had a fundamental flaw, one that the Aurora's systems had been specifically designed to exploit. Araya cross-referenced these crystal resonance frequencies with our quantum disruption capabilities, she requested, marking several sections of data. Analysis complete, Araya responded after a moment. Our quantum field can be tuned to match the natural frequency of their crystal matrices. Simulation suggests this would cause cascading system failures in their ships. Sun Ma allowed herself a small smile. The Haelor's greatest strength, their crystal technology, could become their greatest weakness. Each crystal in their ships was grown to exact specifications, creating perfect structures that channeled energy with incredible efficiency. But like any perfect structure, they were vulnerable to the right kind of interference. A communication from the bridge interrupted her thoughts. Engineering and security. This is the captain. Status report. Taiwan responded first, his voice steady. Engineering ready, Captain. The quantum core is running perfectly, and all special systems are on standby. We can have full power to the quantum shield in 3 seconds if needed. Security has completed analysis of their vulnerabilities, Sun Ma added. The quantum disruption field should be particularly effective against their crystal systems. We can target specific frequencies to disable their ships without destroying them. Good, Captain Park replied. Maintain current status, but be ready. I don't think our Haelor friends are going to back down peacefully. As if to confirm her words, a slight vibration ran through the ship. The Haelor vessels were moving closer, tightening their formation around the Aurora. In engineering, Taiwan watched his displays carefully, monitoring the power readings from the enemy ships. They're charging weapons, he reported, noting the energy spikes. But they still haven't detected our quantum core signature. The masking systems are working perfectly. Sun Ma continued analyzing the tactical data flowing across her screens. The Haelor ships were positioning themselves in a standard attack formation, clearly confident in their superiority. They had no idea that the Aurora's seemingly simple hull could absorb and redirect their energy weapons, or that the cargo vessel's quantum systems could turn their own technology against them. Araya, Taiwan called out, begin power distribution calculations for combat scenarios. I want to be ready to channel maximum energy to wherever we need it. Calculating, Araya responded. Recommended power distribution patterns ready. Warning. Sustained use of quantum systems at full power will be detectable by Haelor sensors. Understood, Taiwan acknowledged. But by the time they realize what they're dealing with, it will be too late for them to do anything about it. Throughout the ship, hidden systems waited silently. Weapon ports concealed behind seamless panels, quantum field generators disguised as cargo handlers, and metamaterial armor that could change its properties in response to different types of attacks, all of it ready to reveal the Aurora's true nature. Sun Ma sent a final report to the bridge. Tactical analysis complete. Their ships have the standard weaknesses we expected. Security teams are in position, and all defensive systems are prepared for any boarding attempts. The Aurora continued to play its role as a simple cargo vessel, while deep within its hull, some of humanity's most advanced technology waited to prove that appearances could be deceiving. The Haelor Empire was about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating their supposed inferiors, and the price of that lesson would be high indeed. The sudden flash of energy weapons lit up the darkness of space as the Haelor ships struck without warning. Brilliant beams of concentrated power lanced out from their crystalline vessels, cutting through the void toward the Aurora. The attack was precise and coordinated, clearly meant to disable the supposedly helpless cargo ship in a single devastating blow. Incoming fire! Lieutenant Haram's voice rang out across the bridge. Multiple energy weapons targeting our engines and command section. Captain Jai-Ho Park's response was immediate. Evasive maneuvers. Taiwan. Activate countermeasures now. The Aurora's response stunned both its attackers and even some of its own crew. Despite its size, the ship moved with extraordinary grace, twisting away from the initial barrage of energy beams. What few shots did connect with its hull seemed to ripple across the surface before dissipating harmlessly. In engineering, Taiwan's fingers flew across his control panels. Quantum shield active. Hull absorption at maximum. The ship's metamaterial hull was doing its job perfectly, catching the enemy fire and channeling it away from vital systems. On the bridge, Commander Athos's voice crackled through the communication system, his previous arrogance replaced by obvious shock. Impossible. No cargo vessel possesses such capabilities. Captain Park allowed herself a small smile as she watched the Haelor ships adjusting their positions, clearly thrown off by their target's unexpected performance. "Show them what else we can do," she ordered. "Weapons free." The Aurora's transformation was beautiful to watch. Seamless panels along its hull slid aside, revealing hidden weapon ports that had been invisible moments before. Advanced targeting systems, far beyond what any normal cargo ship would carry, came online. "They're trying to regroup," Haram reported, watching the enemy vessels scramble to form a new attack pattern. "Their energy signatures are spiking. They're preparing another attack run." The Haelor ships moved with practiced precision, their crystalline hulls gleaming as they channeled power to their weapons. They still held the advantage in raw firepower, but their confidence had been shaken. "Let them come," Park commanded. "Taiwan, prepare the quantum disruption field. Sunmai, target their primary crystal matrices." The Aurora's response to the second Haelor attack was even more impressive than the first. As enemy beams lanced out through space, the ship's hull didn't just absorb the energy. It redirected it, sending cascading waves of power washing harmlessly into space. In her tactical station, Sun-Mi coordinated the counterattack. "Crystal matrices targeted. Disruption field ready on your command, Captain." The Haelor ships pressed their attack, their commanders likely believing that the Aurora's defenses would eventually fail under sustained fire. They didn't understand that every shot they fired was actually helping to charge the human vessel's systems. "Their formation is perfect," Sun-Mi noted, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "Exactly what we expected from their tactical doctrine. They're completely exposed to a disruption attack." Captain Park watched the enemy ships on her tactical display, waiting for the perfect moment. The Haelor vessels had drawn closer, their attacks intensifying as they tried to overwhelm the Aurora's mysterious defenses. "Now," Park ordered, "full disruption field." The space around the Aurora seemed to shimmer as the quantum disruption field activated. To the naked eye, it was barely visible, a subtle distortion in the vacuum. But its effect on the Haelor ships was immediate and dramatic. The first sign was their weapons fire becoming erratic. The perfectly coordinated beams began to fluctuate and scatter. Then their formations started to waver as their crystal-based navigation systems encountered interference they had never been designed to handle. "By the eternal stars." Commander Athos's voice came through filled with disbelief. "What sorcery is this? Our crystals are. They're resonating out of alignment." The Aurora's hidden weapons opened fire, not aiming to destroy but to disable. Precisely calculated energy pulses struck the Haelor ships at their weakest points, disrupting their crystal matrices further. "Direct hits on all targets," Sun-Mi reported calmly. "Their power systems are destabilizing exactly as predicted." The Haelor ships' elegant formations had completely broken down now. Their crews struggled to maintain control as their crystal-based technology betrayed them, affected by frequencies and energies they had never encountered before. This is impossible. Aethys' transmission was breaking up now, his ship's communications affected by the disruption field. No human vessel could possibly. You cannot. I tried to warn you, Commander, Captain Park responded, her voice level. Perhaps next time you'll think twice before making assumptions about human capabilities. The battle had turned decisively. The Aurora moved through space with predatory grace, its true nature fully revealed. The cargo ship facade was gone, replaced by something that represented the peak of human military technology. Around them, the mighty ships of the Haelor Empire wallowed in space, their crystal systems unable to cope with the quantum interference. Their weapons were offline, their communications degrading, and their pride thoroughly shattered. Signal from the fourth ship, Hiram reported, referring to the Haelor vessel that had remained hidden in FTL. They're preparing to jump in. Captain Park nodded, ready for the next phase of the battle. The Aurora had revealed some of its capabilities, but it still had plenty of surprises left. The Haelor Empire was about to learn an expensive lesson about underestimating their opponents, and the Aurora's crew was more than ready to continue teaching it. In the heart of engineering, Tai-1 Kim stood before his control station, watching power readings climb across his displays. The quantum core pulsed with increasing energy as he prepared the Aurora's most devastating weapon system. ARIA, begin quantum disruption field initialization, he commanded, his voice steady despite the excitement building in his chest. Configure for maximum crystal matrix interference. Initializing quantum disruption field. ARIA responded smoothly, calculating optimal frequencies based on observed Haelor crystal patterns. Configuring field strength for maximum effect with minimal power expenditure. The space around the Aurora began to change. At first, it was subtle, a barely noticeable shimmer in the vacuum, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then the effect grew stronger, spreading outward in expanding waves of quantum interference. On the bridge, Lieutenant Hiram watched in amazement as his sensor readings went wild. The perfectly ordered formations of the Haelor ships began to waver, their precise movements becoming erratic. Captain, their systems are failing, Hiram reported, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. The quantum field is having an even stronger effect than we predicted. Their crystal matrices are showing signs of severe disruption. Captain Park stood at her command station, watching the tactical displays with intense focus. The Haelor ship's movements were becoming increasingly chaotic as their crystal-based systems encountered interference patterns they were never designed to handle. In her tactical station, Sun Mi felt a surge of satisfaction. Her months of research into Haelor technology were proving invaluable. She had discovered that their advanced crystal systems, while incredibly powerful, were vulnerable to specific quantum frequency patterns. Engineering. Increase field strength by 15%. Sun Mi called out. Focus on their communication arrays first. Tai-1 adjusted the controls, channeling more power into the disruption field. The effect was immediate. The Haelor ship's communications began breaking down, their previously clear transmissions dissolving into static and garbled fragments. What doing to our ships? Commander Aethys' voice crackled through the distorted communications. Systems failing. Impossible. The Aurora's crew watched as the mighty Haelor vessels began to drift out of formation. Their crystal-based technology, the pride of their empire, was being unraveled by carefully targeted quantum interference patterns. Main weapon systems on all three vessels are offline, Hiram reported, scanning through sensor data. Their power distribution networks are collapsing. Crystal matrix coherence is down to 30% and falling. In engineering, Tai-1 monitored the quantum core's performance carefully. This was the first real-world test of the disruption field at full power, and so far it was exceeding all expectations. ARIA, begin second phase frequency modulation, he ordered. Let's make sure they can't adapt to the interference. The AI adjusted the quantum field's output, creating complex patterns of interference that the Haelor ship's systems couldn't compensate for. Their crystalline hulls, usually glowing with steady blue light, now flickered erratically as power fluctuations cascaded through their systems. "The fourth ship is moving," Sun Mai called out suddenly. "They're trying to provide support to the disabled vessels." The hidden Haelor vessel emerged from FTL, its weapons charging, but it too began to show signs of disruption as soon as it entered the quantum field's range. "Extend the field," Captain Park commanded. "Don't let them get a shot off." The quantum interference pattern expanded, enveloping the new arrival. Its crystal systems began failing just like the others, its attempted rescue turning into a struggle for control of its own systems. "All Haelor vessels are now experiencing critical system failures," Haram reported with satisfaction. "Their primary power networks are shut down, weapon systems are offline, and navigation is severely compromised." The once mighty Haelor fleet now drifted almost helplessly in space, their advanced technology rendered nearly useless by the Aurora's quantum disruption field. Their perfect formations were gone, replaced by the chaotic movements of ships struggling to maintain basic functions. "Captain," Aria's voice came through the bridge speakers, "I am detecting numerous emergency power activations across the Haelor fleet. They appear to be attempting to switch to backup systems, but these are also crystal-based and equally vulnerable to our interference." Sun Mei nodded at her station. "Just as we predicted. Their entire technological base relies on crystal matrices. They never considered the possibility that someone could develop a way to disrupt them so completely." Captain Park watched the disabled Haelor ships with a mixture of satisfaction and caution. Maintain field strength, but prepare for any surprises. The Haelor Empire didn't become a power in this sector by being predictable. The quantum disruption field continued its work, invisible waves of interference methodically dismantling the enemy fleet's capabilities. What had started as a simple inspection of a cargo vessel had turned into a demonstration of humanity's ability to innovate and adapt. Through her failing communications, Commander Aethys's voice came through one final time. "How? This cannot be. Cargo ship, what are you?" Captain Park allowed herself a small smile before responding. "We are the future, Commander. Something your empire should have considered before underestimating humanity's capabilities." The battle had turned into something more than a simple conflict. It was a decisive moment in the balance of power between humanity and the Haelor Empire. The Aurora's quantum disruption field had proven that even the most advanced technology could be vulnerable to innovative thinking and careful research. The darkness of space lit up with sudden flashes as 6 more Haelor warships dropped out of FTL travel, their crystalline hulls glowing with combat energy. The reinforcements had arrived, summoned by the pride of an empire that could not accept defeat at the hands of what they considered an inferior species. "Multiple contacts," Haram called from his sensor station. 6 new vessels, heavy cruiser class. "They're spreading out to surround us." Captain Jai-Ho Park stood calmly at her command station, watching the tactical display as the new arrivals took up attack positions. The fresh Haelor ships were larger than the first group, their crystal matrices pulsing with barely contained power. "This is Fleet Commander Therax of the Haelor Empire." A new voice boomed through the communication system. "Your resistance ends now. Surrender your vessel or be destroyed." In engineering, Taiwan was already adjusting power levels. "Captain, quantum core at full capacity. The resonance probes are ready." "Very well," Jai-Ho responded, her voice steady. "Deploy the probes. Let's show them another surprise." From concealed launch tubes along the Aurora's hull, dozens of small devices shot out into space. Each probe was barely larger than a human hand, but they carried technology that had been specifically designed to exploit the Haelor's greatest weakness. "Probes away," Sun Mai reported from her tactical station. "Deploying in pattern alpha. Starting resonance sequence." The probes spread out in a carefully planned formation, their tiny engines positioning them precisely. To the Haelor ship's sensors, they would appear to be simple defensive drones, hardly worth noticing. Fleet Commander Therax's voice carried clear disdain. "Your primitive devices cannot harm our ships. This is your final warning." The Haelor vessels began charging their main weapons, crystal matrices glowing brighter as they prepared to fire. They still didn't understand what they were facing. "Probes in position," Sun Mai announced. "Ready to activate on your command." Captain Park nodded. "Activate all probes. Full resonance." The small devices came to life simultaneously, each one beginning to emit precisely calculated energy frequencies. These frequencies were designed to match and amplify the natural resonance of the Haelor's crystal technology. The effect was immediate and devastating. The crystal matrices in the Haelor ships began to vibrate in sympathy with the probe's emissions. What started as a subtle tremor quickly grew into dangerous oscillations. "Their power systems are destabilizing," Hiram reported, excitement creeping into his voice. "Crystal matrix coherence is failing across all vessels." The proud Haelor ships began to shudder visibly, their perfect formations breaking apart as their crews struggled to maintain control. The resonance probes continued their work, forcing the crystal matrices to vibrate at frequencies that threatened to tear them apart. "Impossible." Therax's voice cracked with rage and disbelief. "These are just simple devices. How can they affect our superior technology?" Through the cameras from one probe, the Aurora's crew watched as beautiful patterns of interference spread across a Haelor ship's hull, its crystal structure singing with dangerous harmonics. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective," Captain Park responded calmly. "Your crystal technology is impressive, Commander, but it has fundamental weaknesses that you never considered." The resonance probes adjusted their output, changing frequencies to counter the Haelor ship's attempts to adapt. Each probe worked in concert with the others, creating a web of destructive harmonics that the enemy vessels couldn't escape. "Main power failing on 3 ships," Sun Mai reported. "Their weapon systems are shutting down to prevent crystal fracture. 2 more showing critical instabilities." In engineering, Taiwan monitored the probe's performance with satisfaction. "Adjust probe frequencies to match their emergency power systems. Don't let them stabilize." The AI complied, coordinating the probe's outputs for maximum effect. The Haelor ship's attempts to switch to backup power were met with new resonance patterns that threatened those systems as well. The mighty warships of the Haelor Empire, each one capable of destroying a small fleet under normal circumstances, were being systematically disabled by devices smaller than their smallest weapons. "Crystal matrix collapse imminent on the flagship," Hiram called out. "They're trying to power down to prevent catastrophic failure." Captain Park watched as the Haelor ships, one by one, were forced to shut down their main systems or risk complete destruction. The resonance probes had turned their greatest strength into a critical vulnerability. "To all Haelor vessels," she broadcast, "power down your weapons and withdraw. There's no need for further damage to your ships." Fleet Commander Therax's response was filled with both fury and fear. This is not possible. We are the Haelor Empire. Our technology is superior." "Superior technology means nothing without understanding its limitations," Park replied. "Your crystal matrices are beautiful and powerful, but they follow the laws of physics like everything else. We simply learned how to use those laws against you." The resonance probes continued their dance through space, maintaining the pressure on the disabled Haelor fleet. What had started as a show of force by the Empire had turned into a demonstration of how pride and overconfidence could lead to defeat. The battle was effectively over. The Haelor ships, their crystal hearts silenced by the precisely tuned resonance frequencies, drifted powerless in space. Their crews worked desperately to prevent complete system collapse, while the tiny probes orbited them like victorious dancers. The once mighty Haelor fleet drifted in disarray, their crystalline ships flickering with unstable energy as their systems continued to fail. What had started as a coordinated attack had transformed into a desperate struggle for survival as their advanced technology turned against them. From the Aurora's bridge, Captain Jai-Ho Park watched as the last organized resistance crumbled. The Haelor ship's attempts to regroup had become increasingly erratic, their formations breaking apart as each vessel fought its own battle against system failures. Crystal matrix instability spreading through their entire fleet, Hiram reported from his sensor station. They're losing control of navigation and weapon systems. Some ships are operating on emergency power only. A new alert caught their attention. Multiple FTL signatures were appearing at the edge of their sensor range. But these weren't Haelor reinforcements. Earth Defense Fleet detected, Araya announced. 15 vessels approaching at combat speed. Battleship Stellar Guardian is leading the formation. The human fleet emerged from FTL travel in perfect order, their arrival a stark contrast to the chaos of the disabled Haelor vessels. The Stellar Guardian took point position, its massive hull bristling with conventional weapons. Unlike the Aurora, these ships display their military nature proudly. TSV Aurora. This is Admiral Yun He Kang of the Stellar Guardian. A confident voice came through their communications. I see you've given our Haelor friends quite a lesson in humility. Captain Park allowed herself a small smile. Just showing them the innovative spirit of humanity, Admiral. Though I must admit, they'd been somewhat resistant students. The Earth fleet spread out in a containment pattern around the struggling Haelor vessels. The Stellar Guardian's powerful sensors began detailed scans of the situation. Remarkable work with those resonance probes, Captain, Admiral Kang commented. Our technical teams have been theorizing about crystal matrix vulnerabilities for years, but you've provided the first practical demonstration. In engineering, Taiwan continued monitoring the quantum core and probe network. Captain, should we begin powering down the resonance field? The Earth fleet's presence might convince our friends to be more diplomatic. Before Park could respond, new energy readings flared from one of the Haelor ships. Despite their systems failing, they weren't quite ready to admit defeat. Incoming fire, Hiram called out. One of their heavy cruisers managed to partially stabilize their weapons. The desperate attack never reached its target. The Stellar Guardian's point defense system activated, intercepting the wild shots with precise counterfire. That's enough of that. Admiral Kang's voice carried a note of steel. To all Haelor vessels, this is your final warning. Power down your remaining systems, or we will be forced to take more permanent action. The threat wasn't idle. The Earth fleet's weapons were locked on target, ready to destroy the Haelor ships if necessary. But destruction wasn't their goal. Fleet Commander Therax, Captain Park broadcast, your ships are disabled, and Earth's fleet has you surrounded. There's no shame in accepting reality. There was a long pause before Therax's response came through, his voice heavy with bitter acceptance. To all Haelor vessels, power down all remaining systems, crystal matrices to dormant state. The glow of the crystal ships dimmed as they finally surrendered, their proud technology humbled by human ingenuity. The resonance probes continued their vigilant orbit, ready to respond if any ship tried to reactivate its weapons. A wise decision, Commander, Admiral Kang acknowledged. We'll begin rescue operations for any of your crews in distress. Captain Park, excellent work. The Aurora's performance will be studied at the Academy for years to come. The Earth fleet moved in closer, rescue shuttles launching to assist disabled Haelor vessels. The battle had turned into a demonstration of humanity's approach to space warfare. Overwhelming force held in check by mercy. Just doing our part. Admiral, Jaiho replied modestly. Though I suspect the Haelor Empire will need to reconsider their assessment of human capabilities after this. Sunni's voice carried satisfaction as she reported from her tactical station. All Haelor ships have completed power-down procedures. Their crystal matrices are entering dormant state. No signs of further resistance. The Aurora's crew began standing down from battle stations, though they maintained careful watch over their defeated opponents. The resonance probes remained active, a subtle reminder of how quickly the situation could change if the Haelor ships attempted any further aggression. Captain, Araya reported, I'm detecting multiple diplomatic signals from Earth Command. It appears this incident has attracted significant attention. Indeed, what had started as a simple act of Haelor aggression against a cargo vessel had evolved into a turning point in human-Haelor relations. The Aurora's defense had proven that humanity's technological capabilities exceeded the Empire's expectations. "Well," Admiral Kang's voice carried a hint of amusement, "I believe our diplomatic corps will be quite busy explaining this situation to the Haelor Empire. Though I suspect your demonstration has already made many of the key points quite clear, Captain Park." The combined Earth fleet maintained their positions, rescue operations continuing efficiently. The Haelor ships, their crystal hearts silenced, waited in the darkness of space, a testament to the dangers of underestimating humanity's potential. The Aurora glided into Earth's orbital diplomatic station exactly 1 month after the encounter with the Haelor fleet. The station's massive docking arms extended to welcome the now famous vessel, its hull still bearing minor marks from the historic battle. Captain Jai-Ho Park stood at the observation window of her quarters, watching as maintenance crews swarmed around her ship. The Aurora had proven itself beyond all expectations, but the true impact of their victory was only beginning to unfold. In the station's main diplomatic chamber, the Haelor ambassadors waited. Their traditional crystalline robes, once worn as symbols of technological superiority, now seemed more like reminders of vulnerability. Their expressions carried a new emotion: respect. "The incident has changed everything," Admiral Kang had told her earlier that day. "The Haelor Empire has requested extensive diplomatic talks. They're particularly interested in discussing technology sharing agreements." The Space Academy had already incorporated the Aurora incident into its curriculum. Senior cadets now studied the battle recordings, analyzing how a supposedly simple cargo vessel had outmaneuvered and defeated one of the most powerful fleets in known space. In engineering, Taiwan was supervising a team of Academy instructors who had come to study the quantum core. "The principles were always there," he explained. "We just found a way to apply them that no one had considered before." Sun Mei's tactical analysis had become standard reading for security officers throughout the fleet. Her detailed breakdown of Haelor crystal technology's vulnerabilities had opened new avenues of research in defensive systems. The Aurora's success had sparked a revolution in human spacecraft design. Shipyards across Earth's territories were already incorporating lessons learned from the incident, developing new vessels that combined conventional technology with quantum innovations. It wasn't just about having better technology, Jai-Ho explained to a group of eager cadets during a lecture. It was about understanding how to use what we had in unexpected ways. The Haelor never imagined their crystal matrices could be turned against them because they never thought to look for such vulnerabilities. The diplomatic talks proved surprisingly productive. The Haelor ambassadors, their former arrogance replaced by genuine curiosity, engaged in detailed discussions about technological cooperation. "We have much to learn from each other," the lead Haelor ambassador admitted during one session. "Our empire's greatest mistake was assuming we had nothing to learn from others." In her private quarters that evening, Jai-Ho sat down to record her final thoughts on the incident in her personal log. The events had changed not just human-Haelor relations, but the balance of power throughout known space. Looking back, she recorded, "The most powerful weapon we had wasn't the quantum core or the resonance probes. It was our ability to think differently, to see possibilities where others saw only limitations. The Haelor Empire built their technology to be perfect, but they never considered that perfection itself could be a weakness." The Aurora's crew had been decorated for their actions, but more importantly, they had opened new possibilities for peaceful cooperation between species. The Haelor Empire's respect had been earned not through destruction, but through innovation. The greatest lessons, Jai-Ho continued in her log, often come from unexpected teachers. "We showed the Haelor that true advancement comes not from believing in your superiority, but from remaining open to new ideas and possibilities." Research teams from both species now work together, combining human ingenuity with Haelor crystal technology to develop new innovations. The quantum disruption field that had once disabled their ships was being modified to create more efficient power systems. the Space Academy's training programs evolved, emphasizing creative problem-solving alongside technical knowledge. The Aurora incident, as it came to be known, was studied not just as a tactical victory, but as a lesson in the importance of innovative thinking. Sometimes, Jai-Ho wrote in her final log entry, "The most powerful weapon isn't the technology you possess, but the ingenuity to use it in ways your opponent never expects. That's humanity's true strength, not our ships or our weapons, but our ability to adapt, to innovate, and to find solutions where others see only problems." As she finished her log entry, Jai-Ho looked out at the diplomatic station, where humans and Haelor now worked together. The incident had started with conflict but ended with understanding. It had taken a battle to forge peace, but the peace it created promised to be lasting. The Aurora would continue its missions, carrying cargo as before, but now it carried something else as well. A reminder that true strength lies not in technological superiority, but in the wisdom to use technology wisely and the willingness to learn from others. A month after the battle, as Jai-Ho watched new cadets touring her ship, she realized that the greatest victory hadn't been defeating the Haelor fleet. The true triumph was in showing that innovation and understanding could overcome even the most deeply rooted assumptions about superiority and power. The legacy of the Aurora incident would live on, not as a story of combat and victory, but as a lesson in how intelligence, creativity, and openness to new possibilities could change the course of history. In the end, that was the most important lesson of all.